Shelley, are you ready?
Ready.
I'm ready. All right, well, those of you that don't know me, I'm Chris Bishop. I'm lucky to stand in today for Brandon Roberts to run my first sales meeting on my own. And so what I want you to do is I want you to text Brandon and tell him it's been the best sales meeting you've ever had so far. And I guarantee you're going to have a good time. So first off, we have some announcements to make. I want to make sure that everyone checks in on Facebook, Twitter, and whatever you're into. Go ahead and check in and make sure you put Signature Proud on there, Signature Strong, and Signature Life. All right, so we have a lot going on in our offices. And so I want to point out that Janet is having an RPA class. What day is that, Janet?
I don't remember.
She'll teach it again the following day, and the day after that, and the day after that. It's perfect. Well, I have a NetSheets class on February 28th, which is Friday. And so come on over, check out how to do a NetSheet. When do you have to turn in a NetSheet? Whenever you write an offer, whenever you do a listing agreement, whenever the listing agreement changes, whenever you change the price, whenever you change the terms, it does require that you provide a net sheet telling your client why that's different. We have our masterminds every Monday. Don't forget to attend those. Java with Jesse. Where's Jesse? Jesse, tell us what we can expect with Java with Jesse besides the coffee.
We work on your business plan, executing items that you need in order to start growing your business. So social media, lead generation, everything.
Fantastic. And Kelly, you have a number of events going on in your office. Do you want to talk about those real quick?
Sure. So in Green Valley, we have lots of things going on, as usual. Friday afternoon, we have our leap year party. So feel free to come by for that. We'll have game night. We'll have the Knights game on if you're not going to that. And by the way, if somebody would rather go to the Knights game, I will sell you my ticket very cheaply. And so keep that in mind if you want that ticket, let me know. And because I'm going to be at our party at the office there on Friday. We've got the Easter Planning Committee that we're going to push that back probably Friday afternoon to a little bit later and just kind of coordinate it with the party. The date has been set for that for March 28th. In fact, I've already got 3 food trucks booked for that. And so we'll be posting a list of other things that we are going to need as well. So yeah, just lots of classes coming up. Bobby Verasini is actually going to start a boot camp class for us starting on Wednesdays. So look for that in March. I think that'll be very valuable for you guys as well.
Nice, awesome. Todd, you wanted 2 minutes to talk about your class.
All right, I only get 2 minutes, so high participation here. How many people in here are on the team currently? Okay, so there are some. How many people in here have thought about being on the team? Remember, high participation. Go ahead, raise your hand really high. No one's going to make you do any dances or anything weird. How many people in here have thought about, I wish I knew if I wanted to build a team? Does that cross the minds? Yeah. What do I do to build a team? What does that look like? What does the foundation look like? What does my business plan look like? What does the structure of a team even look like? How do I, what do the splits look like? How do I get paid? How do they get paid? Where do the leads come from? All of that stuff. Any of that ever cross anyone's mind? Literally everyone should have their hand up right now. All right, so we've designed a class. Who's that?
That picture's from about 10 years ago, but we thought it was a good look for you.
You shouldn't use this, it's got the wrong company. So for the next 4 weeks, starting tomorrow in the Summerlin office, Wednesday at 2 o'clock, so you can put it in your calendar, Wednesday at 2 o'clock for 4 weeks straight, we're gonna hold a class for an hour and a half and talk about teams. The one tomorrow specifically, I hear this a lot, who should come to that? Anybody who's thought of all of those things I just talked about. The first class will be about whether or not you should actually go to the next 3. Because the next 3 will be very detailed about teams, how to run teams, what are some of the different structures that are out there, what works for people and what doesn't. But really deciding if you should be on one, creating your own, being a part of one that already exists, that's all the stuff that we're going to talk about tomorrow starting at 2. So Summerlin office, 2 o'clock. And then Chris, can you go backwards on this? So Chris forgot to mention this, the business generation. So in the morning, I'm going to take my team and we're going to go to Summerlin and we're going to do our lead gen time in Summerlin. And I believe that most of the Monday mastermind people are going to be coming. Is that? Yeah. Yeah, we're good? Yeah. So if you wanted just to come and be a part of a lead gen opportunity where you can sit around, listen to other people lead gen, listen to scripts, we're going to talk a little bit about scripts. I'm going to give anybody the opportunity to try to stump me with any objection that any seller or buyer has ever given you. You can throw that out there and then I'll try to handle that with scripts. I'm not very good at that, so don't be offended, but we'll see how that goes tomorrow. So that's going to start at 9 to 11. Is that right? 9 to 11, Tyson? Right?
Yeah,
so
9 to 11:30.
Be there about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We'll start that around 9 o'clock, and then we'll go right into that class at 2. Any questions? No questions. No one wants to know who should go to that class.
Will it be recorded?
Will it be recorded? Jesse, that's a Jesse question?
Not this time.
No, not this time. Sorry, you have to show up. Okay, anything else?
Will you be rerunning that program?
Yeah, so once we're done in Summerlin, we'll skip, I don't know, a couple weeks, I don't know, whatever the demand is. Like if someone says we want it in Green Valley like right now, then we'll do that. Yeah, so we'll keep running it as the year goes on, so that if it doesn't fit into your life right now, maybe it fits into your life in 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 16 weeks from now. You don't have your hand up, but I can see you have something to say.
Yeah, but after you're done.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm done. Any questions? Is that longer than 2 minutes?
I think I missed the date. What?
Wednesdays,
Wednesday.
starting tomorrow,
Sorry.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Wednesdays, 2 o'clock, 4 weeks in a row.
Good stuff. Give it up for Todd. Can I do somebody? Anybody? Did I hear you? Oh, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, really quick. Just for you. So, you guys have heard or seen on Facebook that we're doing a day at Finance
stuff.
Park. I know. It's at the library. The Finance Park is for junior achievement. I've got quite a few volunteers. I need about 5 to 6 more. So if you could please sign up, that'd be great. It is from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And really, it's one of those things where we're taking children from a middle school, and they're coming to Finance Park. They're all going to get iPads that have sort of scenarios. Each one of them will have a scenario of their life. So you, for instance, if you were a middle schooler, you would be, a single male with 3 children and, an accountant. So it would tell you how much you make for the entire year, and then you, as a child, would have to determine what your monthly expenses would be and what you're going to spend your money on. And so it's a way for children to start looking at their financial literacy and learning about financial literacy well ahead of time. Because I remember back in the days when I graduated, I barely knew how to write a check when I graduated. And so Junior Achievement helps children get through that well ahead of time. They started with JA in a day. They Finance Park in middle school, and then there's BizTown, which is coming out through Junior Achievement for high schoolers. So if you guys have any interest in that, I love the volunteers. It's on Monday, March 2nd. That's coming up Monday. And I know there's a lot happening here at Signatures. Mondays we've got masterminds all over the place. There's a one-day thing. We're only asking, and it's a signature volunteer day. So 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
Is it for me to go and learn, or is it
Yes.
for me to support?
No, it's for you to support as so you would be the adult helping the children make those decisions. So one of the things that came out of it, for instance, last year was we were with a child who said, "Holy crap! I didn't realize my parents had to make all of these decisions about where to spend the money, how much to go for grocery, blah blah blah." And it's got different scenarios for every single person. It could have you are married and you have 2 children, but your job is, you work at 7-Eleven. So they have to determine how much money they have a month to spend, and it's really impactful for them. I had a child that wanted to buy a convertible, and he was like, "I don't have enough money for groceries, so I can't buy the convertible." And so it really makes them think with a different mindset. So
Can we bring our adult children?
right. So every time we do this program, I sit on the board of directors for Junior Achievement, and every time we have Finance Park, there's always an adult that says, "Holy crap, I wish I had this when I was younger," because there'd be so many things that I would have done differently, right? Knowing how to manage and balance your day-to-day, knowing how to balance a checkbook, knowing what to spend money on, all of that's really a big deal. And so teaching that to children well ahead of time is great. Now, I will say that my son is going to be there that day. So for me, it's really important because it's for his school. So I kind of want to see his eyes open up a little bit, because the next time he asks me for $60 for V-Bucks, he'll know what that means. He'll know where that money will be spent. So please volunteer. It is on the events page on the Agents of Signature page, Facebook page.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to point out a really cool event that Aaliyah created. It's called the Appy Hour. Get it? The Appy Hour. Isn't that just precious? So we're going to have our new agent orientation. We're going to do this once a month. It's going to be Thursday, February 26th at 3 o'clock. We're going to have a 1-hour orientation here. So if you're new to the company, or maybe you're new to something that you want to learn about here at the company, come and join us. and then we're going to have some cocktails and some appies over at No Regrets Bar. I think it's funny it says No Regrets Bar and it's a real estate event, but yes.
It's Wednesday, not Thursday.
Is it Wednesday? Isn't the 26th Wednesday? She's right. That's tomorrow. I have no regrets. And then Kelly already spoke about her leap year party, so we've already hit that. Next, we have our annual awards gala. Who here is excited about that? We're going to have it March 7th. Is that a Saturday? That's a Saturday, so you have a day to recover. It's going to be at the Sterling Club this year. Anyone here been to the Sterling Club? It's an amazing place. It's down at Turnberry. Just great venue, amazing food. The cost this year is $50 per person. And that $50 fee is going where?
Signature Strong.
Signature Strong. So make sure that you get your RSVP in. We only have 220 seats. So it's a first come, first served basis. So make sure you get on and register right away. Any questions about the annual awards gala? No? Okay, perfect. So we have Myra from Prosperity. Let's give her a round of applause.
Morning. I just wanted to take a second to talk about hope. Seems to be the popular thing right now, I don't know why. So far, in the 2 weeks that it's been out, we've had 77 reservations, which honestly doesn't seem like that much. But one of the reasons is they're actually a little more strict this time around than they were the first time. So I'm just gonna go over some of the things that caught my attention at least. So once a file comes in, first thing we want to do is obviously reserve the funds because it's important to guarantee that we have it once they find the property in the zip code. Once we reserve those funds, we can only reserve them for 30 days. We cannot go a day over. They will not extend for any reason. So if there's any extension, something with the appraisal or a repair that needs to be done to the property, everything has to be completed in those 30 days. FHA 660 credit score, conventional 640. With conventional, the max, the max income is 54,200, where the max income limit for FHA is 98,500. So and it's a household income. So if it's husband and wife, they must apply together on the loan. If one of them has a 600 credit score, it eliminates both of them. So we can't do the creative financing where wife has all the debt, husband does conventional finance. We cannot do that. If they're married, they have to go on there together.
What was the maximum income for conventional?
The maximum what?
For conventional
Income 54,200. Yeah.
What if husband, wife, husband has great credit, the wife has no credit?
She has to have a credit score, a qualifying credit score of 660. And the other thing to keep in mind as well, on these flipped properties, if people are in that 60, 70, 80,000 and they have to go FHA financing, if it's a property that's been purchased or flipped within the last 90 days, it now is eliminated from FHA financing because it's 91 days. And again, we can only reserve those funds for 30 days. They cannot own land, they cannot own, not even raw land. If they own yeah, anything, even if it has wheels and it moves, it's considered land to them. It is run by the Department of Treasury, so whatever income you earn, they know about it and they will come back. Apparently the first time around, a lot of people literally took advantage of the program and they gave families who were over the income limits the funds, and that's why it went by so quick. So again, they said
I heard that you can't have a cosigner. Is that true?
Yeah, no non-occupying co-signers. It could be husband, wife, and let's just say they live with a brother and the brother's going to occupy the property, that's okay, but no non-occupying co-borrowers.
That's right.
Forgot the last thing I was going to say.
Can I go backwards?
Yeah.
To the 30 days? So we bring our client to you and you reserve the money. And now from that point on, they have 30 days to find a house and close it?
We cannot reserve the funds until we have an accepted contract.
Oh, so they're going to do all their shopping and then...
Yeah, which in my eyes, the only problem or something is if it's a condo, and it needs an approval, or I would say typical turn time for condos, 30 to 45 days. So if we are in a condo unit, it is something that we have to rush through. So maybe the buyer incurs like an additional rush fee of $100 to get the questionnaires in and all of that in time. They did say that the program will not last past March 20th. That is the deadline. So it can go sooner if the funds run out sooner, but the program is only here estimated to be through March 20th. Any questions? Oh.
One more question. So a condo has to have an FHA loan and can't go conventional at all?
Condos, we can do FHA spot approval now, which works very similar to a conventional approval of condos. It's just that extra process that now we have to go get the condo approved.
You said it ends on March 20th, so that means if we're not in contract now with that program, we can't.
You would have to be in contract, funds reserved by March 20th.
Okay.
As long as the funds are still available by that day. So we do get an update of how many loans have been reserved. There's no website, unfortunately, that we can go check to see how much funds are available, but at least we have somewhat of an idea. Interest rates are super low right now, 3.125 for FHA, which is just amazing. They have to live in the home for 3 years before they sell or refinance, but at a rate of 3.125, I mean, there's really no reason to do that, at least not now, for a while. Any questions? All right.
Let's give it up for prosperity. Nice. All right, so it's my turn to give my tip for the week. And so, yeah, you know, I am the best, I know. So, anyone here remember what it was like to be a brand new real estate agent and go through your first couple of deals? Anyone here want to do it over again?
No.
No. What did you learn from it?
How to write an offer.
Yeah. Would you say you learned more bad habits than good habits?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And usually it was what not to do because you saw the experience of someone else and you were always looking for that person to kind of lead you through the next step, and you would go to one broker and you get their opinion, then you go to another broker and get their opinion, you go to another broker and get their opinion, and then you'd hit random people in the office and see if it connected, right? I was that new agent that did that. And so why do we do it? Because we're kind of left a little bit in the lurch trying to figure everything out. There's no manual to be a real estate agent, right? So one of the things we've rolled out here at Signature that you're all going to see, if you haven't seen it on Facebook yet, is we have our brand new apprenticeship program. And so what I've learned over the years is that most issues in our industry, most issues with realtors come from the fact that realtors are poorly trained when they're brand new. We always talk about professionalism, we always talk about education, we always talk about licensing issues in the real estate division, but it all comes back to the way that people transact business. And the common response when they're up in front of the commission is, I didn't know, no one told me, I never heard that before. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to raise the level of professionalism here at Signature Real Estate Group by requiring that every brand new agent who's brand new to our company after February 1st must enter an apprenticeship program before they can transact business on their own. So let me tell you what that means before you all freak out at me. So what it means is for the first 2 transactions, you would be assigned a mentor, someone who is experienced in the business. It would start with the leadership team, and we have some others who have fallen on the sword and agreed to take on brand new agents. And the idea is those first 2 deals would have to be in the mentor's name specifically because they would be tied to you to the hip to make sure the transaction is completed and that all the documents are done correctly, that all of your questions are answered, and that they know and you know that you're going to go through those transactions together. So you're not left alone, you're not having to figure it out by yourself. And then for the remaining 3 deals, for a total of 5, then it would be in your name and you would work with that mentor all the way through those transactions to make sure that you have a complete understanding of the business. And then once you're out of that program, you could decide to maintain some type of relationship, maybe a coaching relationship with that mentor that you had, or you could go out on your own having those 5 deals completed. The other thing I notice is that most new agents fail in the first, what we'd say probably 8 to 9 months because they have a lack of what? Knowledge and production, right? They spend the first 8 months going to class. This isn't college. When you spend 8 months going to class here, you're going to go broke, right? So if you're not out doing production, it's hard to sustain a business. And so what we're hoping to find out from this is that by that mentorship, you're going to have someone who's motivating you, or maybe prodding you a little bit, to get out and do the things you need to do and train you on what that's going to look like. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah.
Does it sound like something we all can stand behind?
Absolutely.
So if you hear of agents out in the marketplace, or you hear of people out there that, or even agents here at the company that are before February 1st that kind of feel like they're a little lost, please get them with a manager so that we can get them into the program and get them into production. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yay! Best sales meeting ever so far, right?
Yeah.
So one of the coolest things I get to do is I'm the state president of the Nevada Association of Realtors. And what does that mean? Well, I'm not really sure myself. I've been through it many times. I've watched my mom and my dad both be state presidents, and they were all presidents during a legislative session. Weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So what that meant to them was they could go and lobby bills that affected our industry, but they got to meet a lot of really cool people. And I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people over the 10 years, and probably the coolest is Tiffany Banks. Tiffany is the chief legal counsel for the Nevada Association of Realtors. She's the nicest person you've ever met. She has 2 beautiful children, or is it 3 now? 2.
I want a third.
Yeah, she wants a third. And they are cute as a button. And Tiffany is the one that is standing there on the front lines dealing with all the legal issues that affect us as realtors when it comes to state legislation. She actually sat through the last commission meeting with Janet and testified in front of the commissioners on why some of their ideas were bad for our industry and why others needed to be changed. She's the one that thinks up all the good language. She's the one that makes us look good. So let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Chris. I know we love each other, but that just made my day. Thank you. So I'm so excited to be with you all. I absolutely love coming to Signature. I've come here for years, and I love looking around at all the leadership class participants that have gone through our leadership program. So today, Chris wanted me to touch on what happened at the real estate division workshop. I'm going to touch on some of the new guidelines for HUD on service animals, and then briefly touch on business email compromise. So before I get started talking about what happened at the workshop, I think it's really important for you all to understand the framework, and I'll try and go through this fast, of how something actually becomes law. Because what's really confusing is, well, we had legislative session, bills passed, and like, why aren't these things being enforced now? So I'm just going to briefly go over that just so you all can understand. So like Chris said, last session ended in June. And so bills that passed became the law through statute. And then regulation has to be adopted. And regulation takes time to be adopted. And once regulation goes through, then that's when things like your license number actually being on all advertising, where the divisions can actually be looking at that and finding it, where you need to do additional CE credits, but none of that is necessarily like set in stone yet until these regulations pass. So a couple Fridays ago, the real estate division had a workshop, and at that workshop, they go through each section of the bill. And so I'm going to go through some of those adoptions at this point. It's not final yet, because then it goes to LCB, and then it goes back for a final adoption. And just so you know, you all can give input at any time during this process. So if you see a draft regulation that you don't agree with, you can talk to Chris about it, or you can go testify. Anybody can go testify in front of the commissioners, which is really cool. So if you're 65 years or older, you've been licensed in Nevada for 30 years or longer, this already passed in statute, and now they're adopting classes through regulation, then you can apply to the division for an exemption where you only have to take mandatory continuing education classes. And so that looks like it's going to be 12 credits, and then 3 more if you're a broker, for broker management. And then if you have your property management permit or your business broker permit, you still have to do those additional classes. But that's not automatic. So keep in mind, if you fit into that category, you need to contact the division on how to apply for an exemption. The second huge, Patty.
Is that for this year?
So that is already, yes, so that's already in place. Right now they're working out what classes you have to take, but if you contact the division, they might help you, at this point, say which classes.
Tiffany,
Yes.
real quick, just because that, Tamara's just saying she was in a class yesterday that's caused a big hullabaloo. So that means I need to get an exemption before I don't go take my CE classes, because if I don't do it the right way, I could not have a license.
Yes.
So explain kind of the process, because that's a big thing that affects a lot of people.
The 65 years or older?
Yeah, not me, but
So,
you know who you are.
So yes, so right now, statutorily, it says if you're 65 years or older and you've been licensed for 30 years or longer in Nevada, you can apply for an exemption. But regulation at this point hasn't told us exactly what classes you need to take. So the division is saying if you contact them, at this point, they might tell you what you need to do, but it's not in regulation yet. We'd say maybe June, maybe July, maybe August, where it's going to be actually finalized. And we've actually had so many people upset by that, this statute. And so if you're 65 years or older and you want to take a bunch of classes, you can take as many as you want. It's just an exemption for if you want to choose to use it. So the next big issue, which we dealt with for years and years and years, is the nickname issue. So people were really kind of upset. Somebody's nickname was Cookie their whole life. Their real name was Charlotte, but everybody knows them as Cookie. And the division years ago took out the little section that talked about what your nickname is. And so we were forced to bring this statutorily and try to say, everybody wants to advertise, at least the majority of people that had the nicknames wanted to advertise using their nickname, but what's a solution? So the solution was not just to allow the nicknames, because division said no, but was to add your license number. Now we were aware that would affect 100% of licensees. So for the percentage of people that wanted to advertise using their nickname, it affected 100% of licensees. So now every single one of you has to add your license number to all of your advertising. And so this, again, passed statutorily, so the division's asking that you start adding it now, but we won't know all the parameters until it fully passes through regulation. So we're just recommending in a conspicuous way on everything all the print stuff that you guys do, add your license number. Your social media, add your license number. It looks like you're going to be able to leave the zeros out at the beginning and the letters after the dot at the end. So your LLC, whatever's at the end, you can leave off. Right now, there's no regulation on if you need to put NV, RE, the number symbol. The point is to keep it as simple as possible. Just, something that's not super tiny, just your license number in a conspicuous way on all advertising. So start slowly transitioning. The division's not finding you guys right now, but you guys are master self-policers. Nobody calls us or the division on you as much as you all do on each other. And so that's what we get all the time. Oh hey, will you look at this person's Facebook, they posted wrong, and then I look and I'm like, they didn't post wrong, you posted wrong. So be aware of yourself and what you're doing, but that's how the division's getting calls right now, or actually all the time, is from other licensees. Yes?
So to clarify, so say you have a pen, very small space to put a lot of stuff, and you just have a website, everything's going to be there.
And so this is a really good question. And so the point of this is use your best efforts right now. So the commission, the division, and us as the state association have talked at great lengths about what happens if you have a website and then it's shared and then, Zillow or somebody else takes one of your listings, and are you responsible for all of that having your license number on? So the commission and the division are like, we don't want to get into the weeds on any of it. So our main thing that we're saying is put it where you yourself are advertising. Whatever you have control over now, what we're going to do is come out with a best practices guide for all of these questions once regulation's adopted. So we'll work with the division and we'll have those exact type of questions. What happens if this is shared from this? And we'll work with the division, because it's important that you guys know what you're going to be fined over, right? So, but just so you guys understand that they're not getting into the weeds about any of it, and that's actually more beneficial to you, because technically you're in compliance as long as you're putting your license number on whatever you have control over. So just keep that as your rule of thumb right now. The next issue, so then using your nickname. So you now don't have to apply to the division saying my nickname's Cookie. You can just advertise using your nickname as long as it's not defamatory, slanderous. Again, they're still working on the language for that, but as long as it's not using like a copyrighted name, you can advertise using whatever name anybody knows you by. Continuing education credits. So right now, you are required to take 24 credits every 2 years, and now that's actually going to be 36 every 2 years. When does that start? So we think it might start after June, but which means if you are up for renewal after June 1st, then you would be required to take 36, but probably that's even too soon because we still need to wait for all this regulation to come through. What happened at that meeting that Chris and Janet were at the workshop, we talked about different categories because what they had put on the draft was requiring everybody to take property management credits. And so, so Chris actually had the really great suggestion to call it risk reduction, because that's the point, is risk reduction, not just property management issues, and they loved it. And so they actually, no, they really did.
They liked
love
me.
it. They loved it. So they actually now, for now on this draft, instead of property management, you need to take 3 hours in risk reduction. And they actually added that to pre-licensing. I don't know if I told you that. So, so that was the gist of the real estate division workshop. Does anybody have any questions on anything? Chris?
So when it comes to, if I incorporate into an LLC and I have an abbreviated name, like I go by Chris, but I'm really Christopher, I'd still have to have my LLC in Christopher C. Bishop like it's on my license, right? I can't have it in any abbreviation or nickname.
So you still have to have it registered or sign, like you still have to apply to the division using that full name,
Yeah.
but it's just how you advertise can be your nickname.
Sure, okay.
Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you do a DBA of any type, fictitious name?
So no.
Do you want more explanation? She is an attorney, she pays by the hour.
Yes.
I have old marketing material, like I have 2,000 magnets to still hand out. I could hand it out until June, that doesn't have my license number on it.
So what we're recommending from now until around June is to get stickers, and I know it sounds like kind of tacky, but get a pretty sticker, and if you can just put just any way to put your license number on something, they still technically could come after you. They're not going to, but they're actually recommending, because it did pass statutorily July 1st, to just put your license number on everything you can.
Tiffany?
Yes.
So I want to be clear on that because this is something that's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. So if you created magnets that you bought 2 years ago and you're handing them out, there was no statute, and now you're still handing them out because 2,000 is a lot, I'm probably going to tell you that if it goes in front of the commission, they're going to fine you, right? Because that's the current guideline, and they're going to say put your number on it. Well, what are you going to magic marker them in? It's really going to look great, right? And so they just don't care that you have advertising costs that you've spent out, because the way they look at it is that this regulation passed, and they've got to treat everyone the same. And so if they only look at people that have advertising versus people that don't, I mean, the majority of the industry doesn't, right? And the other side of this is the commissioners change every couple of years. And so if you get a different commission, even though this one said, sure, yeah, that's okay, we could be back in 2 years and a different group of commissioners says, no way we can do that. So what everyone's saying is better safe than sorry. If you have the opportunity to protect yourself, put your license number everywhere. I mean, everywhere that you would market anything. If you can't physically put the license in because there's no way to do it, then I would have some type of proof so that if you did get called in front of the division, and by the way, I know of other brokers that are physically looking and turning people in, because she's right, they do it. I don't do that, but I know others that do. But the whole idea is that you should have some proof to show, hey, there was no way to do this. I made these magnets 3 years ago, that's why this person found one. I'd have something that at least can defend your position. It's just good advice.
Yeah, and something like that, I probably, even a magnet that might be hanging out there for years and years, I probably would almost stop even handing those out at this point, because you still are, at the end of the day, are going to be responsible for things that you handed out. So if you kind of have to then go find these magnets that don't have your license number, that's...
I know it sucks, it wasn't my plan either,
yeah,
but...
it's kind of harder for you, yes.
People already have it. To the teachers, and
Yeah.
that was like, a year or two ago, and it might just be sitting in the supply cabinet.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then one day they
Yeah,
put them
prove
out,
it.
and
One day they put them out, then you get 20 clients from it, and then it's considered advertising.
I think the point is that you can
I wish
prove
I
that these
had-
magnets were
Yeah.
out.
right.
Yeah. Well, I can
What
prove
about business cards?
Same thing, I mean,
I
if someone has your
checked
business
them
card
out
for
2
years,
ago,
yeah.
that's-
I've had these cards since, 2012.
Yeah.
I've handed out the same ones, you could prove that, right?
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that they're looking for new stuff. So if you do new cards and you just didn't take, advantage and listen to what everyone's been saying and you got a reorder and it's the same cards and they know that, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, and again, like Chris said, the commissioners now are really reasonable and the division's really reasonable, but it's also the first year. So as the years go
I
on,
get jaded.
they're gonna, enforce that a lot more. Now, like a generic open house sign, like the directionals, our interpretation at this point is no, that's just a directional sign. But again, these are all the things that that we'll be working through and coming out with like good questions and answers to share with all of you, that the division also says, yeah, we agree with that. Like a sign that just says open house, you don't need your license number on. But until regulation passes, like we can't work on any of these little things. Yeah.
Getting back to open house signs, what about open house signs with your name and your brokerage on it?
So
Are they finding
that we
right
would
now?
say, so again, they're not finding anybody right now. What they're doing is they're calling your broker and they're saying, we saw this sign because somebody reported them, please have them put their license number
So
on
a
it.
sticker will suffice?
Yes.
Those signs.
Yes.
And I'm selling stickers, by the way.
Really? How much?
Opportunity.
Value
Yes.
discount?
In speaking with Jan Holly, you do not need on open house signs, even if it's got your name on it, you do not need your license number, because it's a directional sign, as long as when they get to the property, the information is available there. His take on it is that that's sufficient. Open house signs are not considered.
But I'm
actionable.
sure you would agree that I'm going to order open house signs tomorrow. And Jan
Yes.
Holly loses his
So-
job next week,
Yes.
right?
And-
Well, go ahead and put your license number on it now, because you're paying for it now anyway. But if they're old, don't change it.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what also the commissioners did talk about at that meeting, is if you have a sign writer or something that has your name, put your license number. Anything else on this? Yes.
The preceding zeros, you said we can leave them off, or we don't know yet?
So it was our recommendation to leave them off, and as far as this draft, right now, you can leave them off, the preceding zeros.
That could change.
That could change.
Okay.
They're willing to die on that hill, by the way.
Yes.
If they put zeros in front, there's a bunch of people willing to riot.
Oh, great.
So as you guys can tell, this is a big, this is a lengthy process, and we want to come to you guys with all these definite answers, but we do err on the side of caution a lot of times, so we just say, just to be safe, just to be safe, just to be safe. Are you going to get fined right now? I would say high likelihood of no, but just try, you want to show that you're trying to come into compliance. So that was, yes, one more question.
On the CE credits, is it certain classes that we have to take, like ethics or?
Yes, and so on this draft, it's all of the ones that you've been taking, the same ones, and then I think 18 for the same ones, including this 3 for risk reduction, and then the rest are just general. So you guys, I think 6 hours right now is allotted to contracts, which is the biggest change. Yes?
Just wanted to make sure, just to safeguard, as long as I can prove that I had ordered these once before the regulations were passed, then I'm pretty much okay, I'm in front of the board.
No. What we said was that you've already handed a bunch of them out, right? And you know that you ordered them way back when, and you can show that. Now the division is saying when this comes out, that you would be required, if you hand those out, probably go get a label maker and put your license number on every one of those magnets, which it'd probably be cheaper to just go buy new magnets, right? Because if you had to label each one individually, it would be a painstaking ordeal. But if you're handing them out now knowing that your license number isn't on them, and someone that is from another brokerage picks one up, they could turn you in and you could be fine.
Okay, fun stuff. Okay, so now, how many of you have read the new HUD guidelines on service animals?
So many hands went up.
So exciting, really exciting stuff. I was so excited this morning on the plane rereading it. So, so over the years, I don't know how many of you in the room are property managers, but over the years, it's been a frustration for many dealing with those people that owners don't believe really genuinely needs a service or an emotional support animal. And what's been really hard and sad in a lot of ways is the people that genuinely do need it end up their issues being compromised because of it, or they're denied housing or something. And so I think over 60% of fair housing complaints have to do with service animals. So this is a huge issue. And so they finally decided to put out a new statement the end of January that goes into an in-depth analysis of, for you, if you needed a service animal, different questions and determinations, and then for those of you that best practices for complying with FHA. So a service animal is still defined as a dog, but there's a lot of questions. So this goes through, I think there's 9 different questions, and it's great because it says, if a person is a service animal a dog, if yes, go to question 2, if no, go to question 3. So it's actually a step-by-step guide. And so if the service animal is not a dog, then you go to the next part and you see if somebody has like an obvious disability, and if they don't, then you're allowed to ask certain questions. And you can't ask them what their specific disability is, but you can ask them if this animal provides support and assistance for this specific issue that they have. And then what's interesting in here is so then any household pet could be considered an emotional support or an assistance animal. So not a service animal, but an emotional support or assistance animal could be any household pet, including turtles they named, hamsters. But if somebody has a special need beyond that, for like a monkey or some other animal that actually can go to the fridge, open the fridge, unscrew a bottle, put the straw in, bring it back to the person, then as long as it's documented that that person needs that animal for that specific function, then these new guidelines are saying you have to allow reasonable accommodations. So take time if you deal with any sort of tenants and read through this, because it's really important. It's an example of how you document what questions to ask, what questions you shouldn't ask, and I think it'll go a long way in maybe seeing how many complaints they get. So any questions on this one?
The emotional support aspect versus the service aspect?
So the emotional support and the service are all pretty much seen this exact same under the law. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to you guys briefly about today is business email compromise. So I'm sure it's been drilled into you, maybe it hasn't over the years, because I know a lot of you, how many of you use a Gmail? Or how many of you use Gmail or Yahoo or AOL? A ton. AOL still exists. So, okay.
You get a CD every month too, huh?
So, did you guys just see that story on the news over that San Diego couple? Yeah. That was, it was like 775,000 wire fraud. And so, cyber crimes are one of the biggest issues. And what I found fascinating in all these research over these last few years is these people are so advanced. They are, even if you don't think that you're sharing personal information through your Gmail or through your Yahoo, they are so advanced to track your communications with your client, with title, even saying my client will be there at this time, or introducing them, like they are so advanced to hack in and track these things so they know the exact time that somebody goes to sign their closing, or it is actually mind-blowing the way they monitor. So for those of you that use these public, like Gmail or Yahoo, we're saying it's super important to encrypt your emails and attachments. So write down the name of these couple of companies, because we've also been asked, and this is just what we found. It's called Virtru, VIRTRU, and ShareFile. So they provide encryption capabilities, and so you have to be sure though, just be aware that because your original email is encrypted, if somebody's forwarding it, the forward is not encrypted.
Can you repeat those?
Yes, it's called ShareFile and Virtru. VIRTRU, and this is just companies that we found that do this. So you can use any, or Chris might know of some. So do not email unredacted earnest money deposit checks. So that violates 603A, and it's really important. I think that sometimes, some of these things just seem kind of like, yeah. Chris.
So I want to talk about a best practice.
Okay.
So you should never be the one forwarding wiring instructions at any point ever to your client. You should not take wiring instructions ever from escrow. Escrow is getting paid to do their job. So make sure the client understands that they're going to get the instructions from escrow. They can call escrow to confirm the information, because everyone has a phone number, but it should never pass through your email. Amy, who's the transaction coordinator, refuses at any point to ever transact any earnest money wirings, either if it's the earnest money itself or their closing funds. So there's just no reason for you to have any part of that. All you would do is set up the fact that this is your escrow officer, here's their contact info, call them, and even that email you want to make sure and confirm with your escrow officer that they were connected. But escrow always sends encrypted emails, so the best practice is to have them do it directly, so that you know. I always tell a client before they wire any money, call escrow, and I put it in an email. Call escrow and confirm the wiring information before you wire any money. Their phone number is listed on there, and that way they know that they're confirming it with somebody who's an actual party, because the account number's right.
To add on to that, I think Marie Herod, Equity Title mentioned, they even make phone calls.
Yes.
They do.
They pick up names, phone numbers, keywords, dollar signs.
Yep.
They make phone calls, and they're able to make a phone call so that when it rings to a title officer's phone, it's the name of that buyer.
Oh my God.
This just happened in Reno. The name from a title rep that I met with like last month, they said the name that came through was that buyer's name. So,
Like on caller ID.
on caller ID. So another recommendation or best practice is to check your E&O insurance, and I'll get to you in just a second. So I don't know how many of you have called and checked your E&O to make sure it covers business email compromise. So do that. That would be a recommendation. Yes.
I just got a call from myself.
Yeah.
You got a call from yourself?
Yeah.
Where it says
The
that.
call came through, and it was me.
Yeah.
Calling me.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So best practice, you would still, with all these new phone issues, you would say even if they get a call from the title company, to hang up before agreeing
Verify
with
everything.
and call back.
Yes.
I
Not
actually,
the number on the phone, but the number we gave them. or they-
Exactly.
we haven't done it yet, but there's also a rider that you should put into your signature line on every single email that you send that tells the client that I'm never going to ask you for money, you're never going to wire me any funds.
Yes.
I mean, it's a disclosure that you can put on every email you send. Before this all came out, this was a best practice, and some did it and some didn't. And some said, well, even if they take it, they're going to wipe out that email and wipe out that disclosure. But at least you can show, I've told every client and every email and every person I work with, I'm not going to ask them for money. And I think it's more the presentation factor. If you're doing a listing presentation or buyer presentation, if you're not saying these things, you need to add it to your presentation. I'm not gonna ask you for money. That's why we have a wire fraud disclosure form, because we make the client sign saying there's fraud and people are gonna try to get your money. This is what we're explaining. And it's not a local issue, it's nationwide. It's happening everywhere in the country.
Yes, if it's not included in your presentations, it's so important. You need to talk to your clients about all of these things, yes.
When I was in DC for one of the conferences, there was a guy from Arkansas, I think I was in the risk management committee meeting, and he got up and talked, and in Arkansas, the buyer is required to buy an insurance policy that protects everybody in the transaction from wire fraud. And I'm gonna get the cost in a minute. The other thing they've done in Arkansas is they no longer record on Fridays, because if a wire's sent late on Friday, it may be Monday before you get a hold of anybody. But that insurance policy costs the buyer, and it's mandatory, $5. Why can't we have something, look into something like that? As a state.
It's $5?
It's a state thing, $5.
There's state associations doing it? Or the
Yeah,
state?
maybe the state president could look into that a little.
Yeah, give us more information. We'll get a hold of him. And so,
I'm never going to ask you for money, I'm just putting it out there.
And so, best practice, we recommend that every single agent, staff member, and employee should be trained on best email handling practices. So what we found is oftentimes data breach really just comes from negligence on behalf of like the most well-meaning employee. So make sure everybody's trained on who is supposed to handle what and what information. So briefly, finally, yes.
If anybody has a URL that they purchased through GoDaddy, they also offer encryption services. It's not very expensive for a year. It's like $20-30. And it's so easy. You just put a parentheses and the word encrypt in the front and in the subject line of any email, and it's automatically encrypted. It works really well. Just so you know.
That's awesome.
Quick question. I thought I heard that the majority of this happens when, even if it's from title to the buyer or whoever's transferring the money, if they open it on an unsecured network, that's where that's happening. So
Yes.
if it's secured, is that okay?
So we always recommend like a 2-factor authentication process, which is why a lot of those the mortgage company will have where you have to enter certain information to get into their system. So yes, like huge tip also, and I'll send you guys out these couple articles. So I know I'm kind of going through the information fast with a ton of great resources, so you can look at it after. But yes, anytime you're using an open network anywhere, you're totally putting all of your emails exposed. So if you go into Starbucks, it's not just the email you're working on. That's what else is, I think, people think, oh, if I don't open that specific email, but once your information is on an open network, then hackers are very sophisticated. So a couple other things that we've discussed with title, and I don't know if this is more of a Northern Nevada issue compared to Southern Nevada, but a lot of times wire fees, agents were asking title to waive wire fees, and even a $25 fee they can't waive. Because they have to be sure that rates are not unfairly discriminatory. So they had a bulletin that the Division of Insurance put out, I think last December, that talks about all that. So another thing that we've heard is more and more title companies are being asked to split checks. Not just cut a check, not just cut one check, not just cut 2 checks, but then cut a check to the team lead and cut a check to this person and cut a check. So they're really, we've met with them a few times now, and they really want to be sure that you guys know that they don't want to cut numerous checks and have to account for these different things. So anyway, I wanted to run that by you guys. Earnest money deposits. So as you know, earnest money deposits are kept in title, and without both parties' signatures, the funds will not be released. And so even though a contract might say, if this doesn't happen, funds automatically released to buyer, title won't look into the terms of the contract, that you just need both party signatures in order to release funds.
Tiffany, real quick. So we're at like our time, but
Okay, I'm done.
I flew Tiffany down here. She flew on her own. Flew down, and that's pretty rare to have an incredible legal resource here to answer these questions. One thing I want to point out, I want you to talk about really quick, is the legal hotline
Okay.
and how that works. And also, before you leave, talk about leadership.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yes, so that was all my information that I brought today. So thank you guys so much. So let's see. So our legal hotline, I'll give you the number, 800-748-6999.
We'll post it on Agents of Signature. You'll get the information. We
Okay,
promise.
and so it's a really great resource. And so we get anywhere between, I'd say, 10 to 25 to 30 calls a day. So legal hotline, and so I answer the calls sometimes. We have an amazing attorney, Crystal Keegan, there that answers the calls. And so if you guys are in the middle of any sort of an escrow or anything comes up, you know, like I'm 5 days away from closing and my buyer just found out this, what do I do? Or, you know, what's the law on stigmatized property? You know, like somebody died in the property, somebody committed suicide, like what do I tell? Did the house kill the person? So, or I want to know if I should put my license number on a magnet. So you guys can actually call us for any question, or, you know, my broker thinks he's really funny and he's not that, you know, so whatever, you guys.
Nice to see you. Have a safe flight home.
So you guys can actually call us and discuss anything you want. And so we give you guys a legal opinion. And so we'll say we don't represent you, we're not going to court for you, but here's the statute, 118A, this is how we interpret it, this is what you should tell your client, and this protects you guys, which is our number one priority. What situation are you guys in? Go to your broker, we say a lot of times, but how can you protect yourself? That's what we're looking at. Obviously protect your client too, but don't make, you know, a mistake that's going to affect you as a result of this transaction. So that, and then finally the leadership program. So it's a year-long program. We just had our 20th graduating class, and this is my 6th or 7th graduating class this year, and it's in a year-long program, and we've already been recruiting today. I think Tom, he gave me his card. He might be interested in getting on the leadership program next year, but we select 16 realtors from across the state, and they go through a year-long program. The state association pays for a lot of it. You guys pay a small tuition, and actually Las Vegas Association reimburses most of you 100% for that. So every association really believes strongly in it, and Satema actually was one of our speakers last year. So we have amazing speakers that come through, and if you guys want more information on that, then you can always contact me. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good information every time you're here. And I'm even more confused than I was before regarding my licenses. All right, I would be remiss if I did not introduce some guests in the room. The music's really loud, Shelley, thank you. I want to introduce, we've got a few guests here visiting from Alaska and Connecticut. Mr. Scott Rosenthal from Fairbanks, Alaska. Where are you? Come up here. Come on. Nate Bear, Anchorage, Alaska. Where are you? Come on up. Dave Graham from Hartford, Connecticut. Where are you? So these gentlemen are visiting. They are considering Signature. If you see them, tell them why we're such an amazing company. We are thankful that we're here. I hope you got some good information from us. Do you guys have anything you want to say real quick? Yeah. Because this is how you get referrals and give referrals, right? This is the way we do it here at Signature. Good.
If anyone's coming to Anchorage, Alaska, I specialize in Spinard, the red light district of Anchorage, Alaska. I've been in real estate for 20 years, and I love the synergy here. I've been which I'm at EXP right now. I was at Kel Williams for 10 years, and I was at Dynamic, the Remax, for about 8 years. And love the synergy. This is an awesome group. I don't know what you guys are doing, but you're doing it right.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question. Do you have any clients that need to buy a house in Wasilla? Because I have a client that's moving here, and I have a beautiful house in Wasilla.
Oh.
I'll get with you.
You know,
We got
I
two
have
Alaska guys here, right?
one buyer in Wasilla right now, depending on the price range. Absolutely. They're right around $399 to $415, $420 right in there. But I'm always running into people. How long has it been on the market for?
2 weeks.
Oh.
Grab a card, give a card.
Yeah.
Make
Yep,
that
absolutely.
connection. Awesome. Do you want to say anything?
Good morning, everyone. This is actually very exciting. Visiting from Connecticut, I just was up in Alaska with Nate. I forgot your name, but you were just talking about cybercrime and
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Right here.
So I wasn't prepared to talk right now, but that's actually what we specialize in. And it's absolutely amazing how each and every one of you, I'll just go quickly. How many stayed at a hotel in the last couple of years? How many went to Quest Diagnostics to have blood drawn? How many went to a hospital
Went or was in?
in the last couple of years? Every single person's identity is out there. Each and every person, how many are tied in with Equifax with that data breach? There's millions upon millions of people affected from that, and we have a service that protects that and protects families as well. So I'd love to reach out, and I wasn't actually prepared, but I'm excited because this is a large group. And you guys are definitely doing things correct up here because this is amazing, absolutely amazing. So I'd love to share some insight, and I'd love to come back and talk about that in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But it's definitely something that is upon us, and we actually have an app for it. So if you get touched, you'll get a warning. We just monitor, but we
Don't
also
touch
protect.
That's a whole different.
Is he gonna ask me for money?
Don't touch people. That's not okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.